Okay, my name is Miss Sturdy, and I am your student's geometry teacher this year, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about our class. Okay, so things we're going to be talking about in geometry, and you've probably already heard your student tell you about proofs and that they're having to write reasons. So I kind of compare this to if we have to decide someone is a witch in Monty Python, they had a lot of not logical reasoning. So we're not going to just work on proofs, but that is definitely a good chunk of first semester. We're also going to have applications of formulas, not just area and volume, but we'll also have some trig introduced next semester. And then a lot of work in geometry is just on problem solving. When a student's confronted with an interesting problem, with different shapes or something that they do have to prove, they kind of have to work through it, and we'll be doing that individually and in groups, especially using breakout rooms in Zoom. Okay, so a little bit about me. I went to Wilson College, which is in Pennsylvania. It's a super tiny school for math. And I actually minored in computer science because I had planned to do programming when I left college. And I did do that for a couple years and decided to go back to school to NIU and got my master's in math education. And I have been at LT ever since. Things I like to do besides teach math is, well, math related. I help with the math team when they have home meets and do grading and that sort of thing. I also was helping with the grading practices committees, and I love to go and watch my students in their sports and theater productions. Outside of school, I take care of my horse, Red, who came off the racetrack at 3, and I've had him ever since. And I love listening to podcasts, especially ones about true crime and interesting history. Okay, so now about our class. Of course, we are starting virtual, so it's a little different. We have eliminated a little bit of the curriculum that we always thought was just kind of extra stuff in order to have more time for the essentials. And I broke up what we do into 2 groups. The asynchronous work, so that is what students need to do on their own. So that's like what we used to call homework. There are short notes videos, typically 15 minutes or less. An occasional one is a little longer. And of course, there's certainly occasional ones that are shorter. And those are notes videos on the very essential concepts from a section, vocab, notation, diagrams, that sort of thing. And there are usually worksheets that go with those that are available on Canvas. There is a textbook assignment from our book, and it will be a combination of problems that are algebra-based as well as some proofs. And the answers to those are always posted on Canvas, so students can check their work as they go along. And there will also be reviews on a website called Delta Math, and that is, again, a mixture of algebra-based problems, some reasoning problems, and some problems that combine algebra topics with geometry diagrams. So that way, in class, so our synchronous time, we usually start with an opening problem or question. It could be a review, it could be an algebra problem just to refresh their skills from last year. It could be something that maybe we are actually going to prove as a class, just to get us started and warmed up. And then we'll go over any questions and things on the notes as well as the assigned book problems. And then after that, we'll either do extra practice as a big group, and maybe it'll be extra examples on the topic for the day. It might be extra practice where they do individual work and then they submit it to me for feedback through Canvas, or I will put them in small groups using the breakout rooms, and then we come back to it as a big group and check our answers. And that way we don't spend the bulk of our synchronous time to just go over quiet notes that are like vocab and things. So that's what I use the notes videos for. So that way when we are in class together, we can work on the more interesting things and the problem solving skills. All right, everybody wants to know about grading. So many of the things we've done so far, the first couple of weeks, have been formative. So it's things that I can use to see how the student's doing on specific topics and objectives, and I can give them feedback so then they are more prepared for summative assessments. So formatives do not count towards the final semester grade, even though you may see grades and points listed in Infinite Campus. It actually counts for 0% of a semester grade. But those grades and points kind of give them an idea on how students are doing on particular topics. Then we have a unit test at the end of the unit where it actually counts for their semester grade because that's a summative, and that is something that they can retake up to 2 weeks after the date we give the exam. And in order to qualify for a retake, though, they do need to have completed all the formative work going up to that assessment. All right, so how is a student successful in geometry? Well, being prepared for class, so that will include watching the video notes and trying all the book problems ahead of class. And of course, if they do come up with questions while they're either watching the video notes or working on those problems, they can email me those questions ahead of class. They do not have to wait until class time to ask their questions. They should also check their answers on the keys on Canvas. And as I said, if they have questions during class, they should ask them. And I always let the students know they can either ask them out loud or they can always put them in the chat. If they're not sure if they want to say, their question out loud, if they're worried about, feeling silly in front of their classmates. And many times that question, especially if it's emailed to me ahead of time, other students will have that question. So I'll just go over that kind of an anonymous style and then everybody feels better. And then we do have definitions and theorems that they should memorize, because as they come up with those problems that use them, they want to be able to know them quickly. They don't want to have to look them up every single time. So it's kind of like knowing your multiplication tables. It just saves you time later on. Okay, so all our important stuff is on Canvas. We have a calendar that has links to all the notes, videos, the worksheets, the homework. It will also have links to what we do during class. So in case a student, oversleeps or misses a Zoom session, they'll be able to see what we did in class. Those typically, if they're not posted before class, because I need the students to link them immediately, I will post them, especially keys, afterwards, so they will always be able to get to those things. And there is an app that they can put on their phone that's super useful, that they can use to access Canvas. All right, other important websites and apps we will use. CamScan or something similar that can scan their work as a PDF, and then they will be able to upload it to Canvas, so that way I can actually check their work and their proofs and give them feedback. I already mentioned Delta Math. Edpuzzle is where all their notes videos are. They do not need to even know that website directly. It's actually just linked right from Canvas. Desmos is a great graphing online utility that we will also do some activities with. Again, those would all be linked from Canvas. And then there's something we use in class for group discussion called Padlet, where students can all individually type in responses, and then we can look at it together as a class. All right, extra help. Students, like I said, are always welcome to email me with their questions at any time. I will also be scheduling extra Zoom sessions, before or after school time, we'll say, especially before a summative assessment, so that students can kind of just drop in and ask questions, similar as if we were in school and they would just drop by my room. And then Delta Math, they can always use for extra practice, because they have great guided videos. And that will be something, in addition to using the guided videos that I already provide. And if you also have any questions, please feel free to email me and let me know. I love to keep in touch with all my parents as well as my students, and I hope to see all the students in person very soon.